至らないなら振り絞れ。1分もいらない。1秒あれば十分だ。魂を研ぎ澄ませ。駆け抜けろ。極限の一瞬を。
Today we're taking a dive back into some school series that specialize in helping characters train to become better magic users or in general, learn abilities or skills to enhance their capabilities. But what if the protagonist is already powerful enough to do all that and appears to be so average? That's why this video will cover 10 average looking anime main characters who are powerful magic users in school. If you are new around here, then please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel with notifications bell icon turned on to stay up to date with the latest anime news and recommendations right at your doorstep. Now, without keeping you all waiting, let us begin with the video. Starting this list off with Unbreakable Machine Doll, which is quite the mixed bag when delivering a few things that can appeal to a variety of audiences. On one hand, it seems to have enough ecchi to appeal to the ecchi fans, and on the other hand, it seems to handle its fighting scenes quite well in the use of little CGI here and there. Action fans may enjoy it as well, to be honest. It also has a great premise of a battle royale type of show where the protagonist must beat top 100 students in the academy to achieve a high ranking status to have a chance at participating in the academy. The anime was created by Studio Lurch in the year 2013, but their use of CGI is not great and can leave people not wanting to continue the series, even though it's used little during battle scenes. But since the anime is visually impressive with an addicting storyline, do consider checking this one out. Next up on the list we have is World Trigger. Truly an amazing anime, really balanced out as in everything is explained that you can't question anything about any scene, and I loved how they've done that. Sadly though, it is quite the underrated anime and a lot of people dropped it at the start for some reasons. The art is kinda okay, but you know what's more important are the fights and the scenes being very cool. World Trigger starts off really slow, introducing its world, concept, and characters before kicking off into the actual conflict. Enemies come from, just another dimension. People set up an organization to stop them, right? Yes, whatever. Fairly straightforward to the point. Jump exposition dumping. Developed by Toei Animation and then being taken over by TV Asahi, I think World Trigger is a great shonen anime that has improved massively in its visuals aspect each season, and this series does deserve more attention from the audience. A lot of anime have about 22 to 25-minute long episodes and usually take time, around the first few episodes to introduce very important characters and the setting. But this anime called Busted Darklord takes the entire season to do that, which is crazy. Busted Darklord is a Chinese animation series, and it has a very interesting story of a protagonist, son of the Demon Lord, who was forced to dress as a girl and enter an academy. The goal is to pretty much obtain a hero certificate, which can bring legitimacy to the demon clan. While this isn't inherently a bad adaptation, of course, of the webcomic, and isn't a terrible show in its own right, though the way it is structured makes it lose a lot of points. It's incredibly slow moving to the point where it makes a whole season to introduce characters, and that's where many people found the show to not be good, but it is still quite entertaining on the other hand. So when you have an anime series with a protagonist trying to be the next Anosovoldi god, that's when the questions start to raise and go up, and hence why people call this anime a dumpster fire of a Demon Lord anime. This is called The Greatest Demon Lord is Reborn as a Typical Nobody. Developed by Silver Link in 2022, this anime presents yet another overpowered protagonist reincarnated into the future to experience a new perspective in life and escape his recognition as the Great Demon Lord. So he pretty much decided to just purposely make himself weak to match other people's magic abilities, but alas, Even in this world, they are all super weak and he is still too overpowered. But the anime speaks for itself, to be honest. People love Demon Lord anime, watching them, just beat on those who underestimate them, watching them cast powerful magic. It's an encounter I never get tired of seeing. This right here is a brand new Chinese animation series created by Studio Garden Culture called Dragon Raja, a series that follows a protagonist who is skillful in his own way in playing his favorite game called StarCraft. He receives a scholarship to attend a special school. Now, the college's obscurity will be the least of his concerns once they start telling him about dragons. Now, because this is about a dragon academy. Now, the protagonist at the start gets mistreated by his classmates, appearing weak and helpless, but turns out that this school is a dragon academy, and the protagonist is highly skilled. It's a visually impressive looking anime with good animation, interesting characters, making this a well worth your time Chinese anime to get invested into.
就是这样，呼救，向这个世界呼救。你只要呼喊，总有千军万马。
負けられない。ここで引くわけにはいかないんだ。まだ終われない。
I'm gonna have to admit that at first glance I also noticed it to be both visually and story related to Asterisk War. However, as we all know by now, that Rakudai Kishi no Kabori has more of an erotic, romance, ecchi genre to it. While watching it, I actually found myself to be highly engaged into the action and battle scenes more than the story itself. I felt quite bad though, because I personally felt that the story was the Rakudai Kishi's weakest point. What I mean by that is that I felt like there was not much of a wow or like an oh my gosh intense moment in the story for me. I did, however, like the romance between our main characters and also the action sequences. It's definitely a really good fantasy school themed show with great characters, fan service, and also, not to forget, the visuals. Chrome-shelled Regios seems like a pretty standard fantasy-styled anime, and truth to be told, this is a pretty accurate impression, to be honest. Now, the plot is fairly straightforward, with little in the way of true complexity. Unfortunately, the manner in which the story is delivered has all the hallmarks of an action melodrama, and while there are some comedic elements thrown into the mix in an effort to balance things out, the overall effect is rather lopsided. However, probably the biggest example of this is the main character's turbulent past, and the reasons why he's attending the academy in the first place. There's a clear attempt to obtain sympathy from the audience. However, the plot seems overly contrived, and rather than ensuring that this aspect of the story is part of the greater tale, it instead stands out as one of the most severe occasions where the show has tried to elicit a reaction from the viewer, which I personally really enjoyed. Charlotte is one of those anime I really enjoyed a lot, but I can't say it had a great ending because it definitely felt rushed a lot. But the rest of it is actually pretty good. At the start of the anime, Yu has the power to control someone for a certain amount of time, and he gets busted, but not by the government, but some random student who just forced him not to abuse his powers and to enroll into their school where people with supernatural abilities like them exist. Now, Yu needs to remove every ability from all ability users, and to do that, he must overcome a lot of obstacles in his way, proving this to be quite the challenge. This is, however, just the beginning of the story, because later on, it gets more in detail, more in depth, to where secrets will be uncovered of Yu's power, tragic accidents, and also points of no return.
俺の信号を聞け。それだけに集中しろ。嘘だよ。魔術はすげえ役に立っているさ。人殺しにな。
Don't get me wrong, I've watched a lot of these types of light novel adaptation shows, and I did not have high expectations at all when I started the show, and I was right. Episode 1 was not great, full of the usual cliches and tropes, but if you look past that first episode, Akashic Records is actually a show that gets exponentially better. This show is surprisingly extremely entertaining with intriguing characters, though it still has some of the usual tropes and cliches. There was something different about the plot though and the characters, which was very well done. That kept me hooked in throughout. It is without a doubt one of the better light novel adaptations. The plot is not really predictable, and characters are not shallow in the least. Actual lovable characters, and they're quite different from the usual cliched ones. Great music, great art, and action overall. Now finally, to end this list off, what I'm recommending to you all is The Eminence In Shadow, a newly airing isekai series of a protagonist named Sid who wishes to achieve greater things in his next life and become the Eminence In Shadow. People are hating on this series for being power fantasy isekai trash, and it is very much that, but it's also satirizing the subgenre and genuinely not a bad story if you take it at a face value. I quite like the characters in this, especially how overpowered Sid is in a school setting as he hides his true identity and power. This anime is actually being made by Studio Nexus, creators of Rakudai Kishi and also Darwin's Game. I think people should give this anime a try. It's got really impressive animation for the genre and a solidly paced plot that will keep you so engaged. You just made it to the end of the video and witnessed 10 average-looking main characters who are powerful magic users in school. If I have managed to leave any anime out in particular that you thought would be a great addition on the list, then please let me know in the comment section down below, as I'd love to hear your very own opinion, or just comment down below what you thought about the video in general, as I'd always appreciate the feedback. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be seeing you all in the next one.